Doing something or saying something or being a way that makes you uncomfortable is not a crime.
We got an update on Deshaun Watson, and for the most part, I understand people that are getting annoyed about hearing this case, but a lot is at stake here, not only for Watson, but the Cleveland Browns and the entire NFL as well, and this can send shockwaves and a domino effect throughout the entire NFL. Originally, I felt like I've been making way too much videos on this case recently, so I kind of backed off. And then I saw that a few hours ago, there was this New York Times article on how the Texans and a spa enabled Deshaun Watson's troubling behavior. So this completely turns the case around on its head, because now, instead of Deshaun Watson being sued by 24 women, this article by the New York Times, which bear in mind was responsible for the article in regards to John Gruden and DeMaurice Smith a few months ago, implies that Watson met with 66 women for massages. So before we get to the content, man, you guys already know everything about Deshaun Watson tends to get demonetized, so a like really goes a long way in pushing this video on the algorithm. And if you want to support me, check me out on patreon.com/microphone. Now that we got all that out of the way, work! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? It wouldn't be right without me making one last Deshaun Watson video before I have to get my surgery tomorrow, and unfortunately it just seems to be getting worse and worse. I don't need to recap you guys much on what we left off with, except the fact that Deshaun Watson's lawyer said this.
I don't know how many men are out there now that have had a massage that perhaps occasionally there was a happy end. All right, maybe there's nobody in your listening audience that ever happened to. I do want to point out, if it has happened, it's not a crime unless you are paying somebody extra or so to give you some type of sexual activity. It's not a crime. And so at the end of the day, doing something or saying something or being a way that makes you uncomfortable is not a crime. Which
already isn't a good look, we all can admit that, and honestly I would fire my lawyer straight up if he said that in the public sphere. But since then, a 24th masseuse came out and decided to file a civil lawsuit against Deshaun Watson, and the contents of that message are very, very disturbing. Now, that wasn't enough for me to decide to make you guys another update video. I don't like making update videos unless if there's some crazy information, and this New York Times article definitely does the trick. So a woman by the name of Jenny Vrentas wrote this article called "How the Texans and a Spa Enabled Deshaun Watson's Troubling Behavior." Now, if you don't understand what this means for Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns, pretty much anything that comes out could put pressure on the NFL to give Deshaun Watson like a historic suspension. And I feel like that's what most media is aiming to do, because the timing of all these articles, I have to admit, is very interesting. Now, I don't want to say if they're real or not. That's not my job. I was not there. But you have to admit, the fact that they're releasing this right as mandatory training camps are beginning to start, the timing is definitely very interesting. Now, let's get to this article. Watson met with at least 66 women for massages over a 17-month period, far more than previously known. He had help from the Houston Texans, including non-disclosure agreements in making appointments. So the Houston Texans are involved in this, and maybe there's an implication that they may have known of what's going on behind the scenes with Watson. So the article opens up by saying the accusations have been frequent and startling. More than 24 women have said that football star Deshaun Watson harassed or assaulted them during massage appointments that Watson and his lawyers insist were innocuous. Now, the article continues to say that 2 grand juries in Texas this year declined to charge Deshaun Watson criminally, and while the NFL considers whether to discipline him, he has gotten another job, signing a 5-year, $230 million contract that's fully guaranteed to play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this coming season. I'm gonna say this, man, this will be one of the most signature Cleveland Browns moments in NFL history if it gets to a point where Deshaun Watson is suspended for a season or 2 seasons. Not that that's ever happened before in NFL history, but maybe the NFL is looking at what happened with Trevor Bauer and the MLB. Maybe they would want to take a page out of their book. Regardless, it would be a historic gaffe if the Cleveland Browns would lose Deshaun Watson for a year or two after signing him to a 5-year, $230 million guaranteed contract and alienating Baker Mayfield in the process. It would mean that the Cleveland Browns have this incredible super team and their highest paid player wouldn't even be there to lead them. Now, the article continues to say that Watson and his representatives say that it's time for everyone to move on. Yet a New York Times examination of records, including depositions and evidence for all civil lawsuits, as well as interviews of some of the women, showed that Watson engaged in more questionable behavior than previously known. So it's worse than what we've been told, is what the New York Times is saying here. Now, the New York Times review also showed that Watson's conduct was enabled, knowingly or not, by the team he played for at the time, which is the Houston Texans, which provided the venue Watson used for some of the appointments. A team representative also furnished him with a non-disclosure agreement after a woman who is now suing him threatened online to expose his behavior. So this article is implying that the Houston Texans were in on these shady appointments and knew what was going on behind the scenes, and their reaction was,
okay, let's get these masseuses to sign NDAs.
Now, Deshaun Watson's lawyer, Rusty Hardin, you know, the guy that went ahead and said this on a radio interview.
Occasionally there was a happy end. If it has happened, it's not a crime.
Says that Deshaun Watson continues to vehemently deny the allegations in the lawsuits. He declined to respond in detail to the Times questions, but said in a statement, "We can say when the real facts are known, this issue will appear in a different light." Now, at this current time, the Houston Texans did not respond to specific questions about Watson's use of team resources. They said in a statement that they first learned of the allegations against him in March of 2021 and have cooperated with investigators and will quote unquote continue to do so. So this completely turns the story, or at least the original theory, on its head, which was a very flawed theory, might I add, that the Houston Texans may have set up Deshaun Watson for sabotage upon knowing that he wants to demand a trade from the Houston Texans because Tony Busby was neighbors with the late Bob McNair, which was a very cute storyline that I believed in when I first heard everything. But clearly that can't be the case here. If the Houston Texans, one, wanted to maximize Deshaun Watson's trade value, you don't want this information out there. But two, if the Houston Texans are trying to hide some of the trouble that Deshaun Watson was getting himself into, allegedly, it also disproves that theory. Now, we're just getting started, man. Watson has said publicly that he hired about 40 different therapists across his 5 seasons in Houston, but the Times reporting found that he booked appointments with at least 66 different women in just the 17 months from fall 2019 through spring of 2021. A few of these additional women, speaking publicly for the first time, described experiences that undercut Watson's insistence that he was only seeking professional massage therapy. So this can't be good. I mean, 22 women is not great. 23 or 24 women is not great. The fact that you were about to settle with 18 of the 22 in the middle of last season, but it didn't end up happening, is not ideal. But now you have apparently, allegedly, according to this New York Times article, 66 different women in just 17 months from fall of 2019 to spring of 2021. Now, one woman who did not sue Deshaun Watson or complain to the police told the Times that he was persistent in his requests for sexual acts during their massage, including begging her to put her mouth on his Johnson. "I specifically had to say, no, I can't do that," said the woman, who spoke on condition of anonymity to protect her family's privacy. "And that's when I went into asking him, what's it like being famous? Like, what's going on? You're about to mess up everything." So the article continues to give some background into Deshaun Watson's history and how he became drafted and how highly touted of a prospect he was, and the fact that he didn't have any known character issues. But the article continues to say that the complaints against Deshaun Watson have become fairly consistent. Women complained that Watson turned massages sexual without their consent, including purposely touching them with his Johnson and coercing specific acts. It's not clear when he began looking for so many different women to give him massages. Rusty Hardin has said his client needed to book appointments ad hoc when the coronavirus pandemic began, though Watson began working with numerous women before the COVID pandemic. Not all women who gave Watson massages between October of 2019 and March of 2021 have detailed their interactions with him. Some who have shared their experiences say they had no problems with him. Others describe troubling and similar behaviors. Now, I always say the way you could tell if a rumor is real is if you're hearing the same report consistently from many different sources. masseuses, it's hard to imagine that all 66 women are able to come together, get a story, and stick to the same story. It's very difficult to imagine that. I mean, let's just continue the article. The 66 women are the 24 who have sued him, include 2 who filed suits within the past week. In the most recent suit, the woman said Watson beat himself during the massage, which I'm going to leave in the description down below, or make a TikTok about. Actually, I can't make a TikTok. I'm going to leave that in the description down below. It's way too graphic for me to talk about, but it continues to say that a woman who sued but then withdrew the complaint because of privacy and security concerns. 2 women who filed criminal complaints against Watson but did not sue him. At least 15 therapists who issued statements of support for Watson at the request of his lawyers and gave him massages during that period. At least 4 therapists from Genuine Touch, the massage therapy group contracted with the Texans. 5 women identified by the plaintiff's lawyers during the investigation for their civil suits, and at least 15 other women whose appointments with Watson were confirmed through interviews and records reviewed by the Times. A deeper look at the civil suits, including a review of private messages entered as evidence, shows the lengthy efforts that Watson took to book massages and the methods he used to assure women that he could be trusted. One woman who sued Watson was a flight attendant who began taking massage therapy classes during the pandemic. She and Watson were in the same social circle, but Watson acknowledged in a deposition that they had never really spoken except to say hello. Now, the Times provides some excerpts from the deposition, which is a little bit older. I mean, the question is, can you explain why you reached out to the massage therapist on Instagram instead of just using a therapist you had used before? Watson said because he needed massage therapy. The question, okay, you just couldn't have used someone that you used before? Watson said he could have, and then the question said you could, yeah, but you didn't, did you? Watson said I did not. The next question is, you could have used the Texans, right? And Watson said it was definitely possible, but you didn't, did you? And he says, I did not. Now, there are other screenshots that it's also posted. In November 2020, after a friendly exchange on Instagram, Watson saw that the woman was a massage therapist and sent a message asking her for an appointment. As they struggled to work out a time, Watson told her, I'm just trying to support Black businesses, a message he repeated later. Now, this is just me remaining objective. So after reading this little tidbit about Watson trying to support Black businesses, why is that a bad thing? Why is that even necessary to include? What's the correlation between this and what he's been accused of? Now, the article continues saying that Watson regularly presented himself as an ally to businesswomen. In the suit filed this week, the therapist alleged that he told her that he really wanted to support Black businesses, and on another occasion, he left a woman perplexed when he purchased 30 bottles of her $40 skin cleanser. Ooh, that is very perplexing. How dare you clean me out of my skin cleanser? Like, now I just feel like they're grasping for straws at this case. I mean, in the very beginning, they actually were starting to convince me here. I mean, what was going down was a little sketchy. But now it just seems like they're doing anything to even turn kindnesses by Watson into bad things. If he's trying to spend $1,200 and invest that into a woman's business, why would that be perplexing? In messages to the woman, whom he knew from his social circle, Watson asked to meet at the Houstonian, an upscale hotel and club where the Texans had secured a membership for him. She said she wasn't comfortable going to a hotel because she knew Watson's girlfriend, and indeed had once babysat her and her younger brother. The woman told Watson she wanted to keep things professional and respectful. Watson responded saying, oh, most definitely, always professional. I even have a NDA I have therapists sign as well. Now, he was referring to the NDA he had received just a few days earlier from a member of the Texan security staff, and Watson didn't explain in the text how the woman would benefit from signing a document that was meant to protect him. Now, finally, the woman suggested that they meet at her mother's home in Manville, a 30-minute drive for Watson. He responded, damn, that's far, but agreed to make the trip. Then there are additional questions from this deposition where he's being asked whether or not he cared about the masseuse's experience level, and Watson responds saying that it wasn't a priority. Now, it says in the civil suit the woman filed against Watson last year, she said she was uneasy with his directions to get up in there during the massage, but chalked it up to her inexperience and agreed to work with him again. When he finished during during the second appointment and then asked her for another massage later that day at the Houstonian, she first agreed, then told him she could not make it and eventually blocked his number. The story then transitions to the woman who sold bottles of cleanser to Watson, and it states that she had a few appointments with him during the summer of 2020, and she told Watson when he booked an appointment that she was licensed only to give him a back facial. She said in an interview with the Times that he got fully undressed, directed her toward the groin, and while she said there was no contact, she believed that he was seeking more than a professional massage. Watson and his lawyers have said he was only seeking massages. The lawyers have acknowledged that Watson had more than just massages with 3 of the women who have sued him, but the acts took place after the massages and were initiated by the women. Now, when he was asked whether he was asserting that Watson never had contact with any of these other massage therapists, Rusty Hardin, the lawyer, didn't respond. Now, if you think that's wild, listen to this next masseuse. Now, this woman again speaks on condition of anonymity to protect her privacy and said in an interview that she began by working on Watson's back. But when he flipped over, said that Deshaun Watson's demeanor and voice had changed, and he began aggressively dictating where he wanted her to touch him. In their first session, she said he got into the happy baby yoga pose on his back with his feet in his hands and asked her to massage around the gooch area. I know I shouldn't be laughing, but some of these descriptions are just so wild. Okay. The masseuse laughed off the request but said he grabbed her wrist and put her hand there. The woman said Watson twice initiated intercourse, once by pulling down the scrub she was wearing, and she and Watson knew each other from around town and were on friendly terms, and she admitted that she let him proceed. I just didn't know how to tell him no. Watson's lawyer's response to this is, it would be irresponsible and premature for us to comment on vague details put forth by anonymous individuals. Now this is where it gets interesting. In June of 2020, Watson began frequenting a spa in a strip mall off of Interstate 45, at least a 30-minute drive from his home or work. He had found a new U-Spa on Instagram and sent a message. The owner became a resource for Watson, which was able to connect him with multiple women for massages. Okay, so this woman's name is Dion Luis, and just for lack of a better parallel to draw, it seems like this woman is Watson's Ghislaine Maxwell, according to this article at least. Now, it says that she looked out for him, and she said in a deposition, sometimes arranging for a security guard when Watson came in. Concerned the expensive cars he drove might make him a target for a robbery. She also got things from him. In November 2020, Watson paid her $5,000 through an app to buy spa equipment. Louise told one of her employees in a text, "I told you I'll show you how to get money from men, and that's my specialty." Now, during the months Lewis and Watson worked together, she set up appointments for him with several women who worked there, none of whom was licensed in Texas to perform massages. One was the woman who said Watson begged her for head. She described how he tried to build up to specific acts, starting with his request that she work on his behind and go higher up on his inner thighs, which put her hands uncomfortably close to his balls. When he flipped over, she said he was exposed, but she refused his advances. The woman did not sue Watson, but 4 other employees of a new U-Spa did, and they all said in their lawsuits that Lewis gave him special attention. In June 2020, one woman said in her suit that Lewis drove her to a hotel to meet Watson for a massage, during which he groped her and touched her hand with his Johnson. Lewis was not in the room, but in text messages she later sent to this woman, she appeared to refer to Watson treating her employees poorly. "I've been talking to Deshaun, and I just told his ass off he got it now. I told him he can't treat us black women any kind of way." Now, in her deposition, Lewis also denied sending these messages. Days later, when Watson went to work at the Texans stadium, he found an NDA in his locker. He later said in a deposition that Brent Nakara, a former Secret Service agent who is the Texans director of security, put it there after Watson told him about Smith's Instagram posts. So here's another deposition saying this NDA you have already gotten from, you had already gotten this NDA by this point, obviously from Brent. Watson says yes, and then they verified it's Brent Nakara, who is the head of security for the Texans, And then he was asked, he's the guy that gave it to you? And Watson said, he put it in my locker, yes sir. So Watson even admitted this was a Texans employee that gave him the NDA. And Watson began taking the NDA to massages that same week, giving one to the woman in Manville who signed it, and another to a woman who said in her lawsuit that she ended the session after he suggested in advance. Watson told her she had to sign in order for him to pay, so she did. And according to her filing, Watson said in a deposition that he used this NDA only for massage appointments because he had lawyers and agents who handled his other business. Now, it's unclear whether the Texans knew how many massages Watson was getting or who was providing them, but their resources helped support his massage habit away from the team. Watson acknowledged in a deposition that the Texans arranged for him to have a place at the Houstonian. He used the fitness club, dined there, and also set up massages in hotel rooms. Now, at least 7 women met him at the hotel for appointments, according to interviews and records, including 2 who filed civil lawsuits and 2 who have complained to the police. The Texans weren't aware of the massage appointments at the hotel that Watson knows of, and he also said that his access to the property was not under his name. One woman who gave Watson a massage at the Houstonian said she was told that the room was registered to a member of the Texans training staff. So if everything this New York Times article alleges is true, this is what we're dealing with. One is the fact that Deshaun Watson had 66 different masseuses and only 24 of those 66 are suing him. The next thing is the fact that there is a very real possibility that the Houston Texans knew what was going on behind the scenes with Deshaun Watson and even helped him cover it up by providing him NDAs and providing specific massage rooms for him. Now, it's important to note that Deshaun Watson actually put a response to this on his Instagram story. It's a lyric from Rich Off Pain featuring Rod Wave by Lil Baby, Lil Durk, and Rod Wave, saying, "See, the blogs can't break me down. See, I'm the voice. I don't reply. But the rumors y'all done heard, I'ma humbly deny. Yeah. I've never heard the song before. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about this entire situation? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.